So in this video I have to pull my recently built bike apart before I even properly ride it, because I tried to update the WU-111 via a mobile phone, which bricked it. So then I had to, whilst pulling it apart, I dropped the saddle binder into the seat post, which required me to jiggery pokery around and then get out a Windows laptop, which of course I did not have with me because I was on holiday, so which caused me a bit of a meltdown and I have a rant about. And then in the end I will show you some Di2 goodness. Nice. I do like this. But I must add, this is the fantastic end result. It was not without a few other meltdowns along the way. I have no words to describe a company in 2020 whose software is either desktop first, their website's desktop first, their websites are not mobile orientated, or worst of all, that their software is Windows first. I mean, it's just, okay, so we are here with some fresh coffee, some water, because it's like quite a few coffees in, and we have two dubious boxes and a dubious black box. This, as you may recall from references in some other videos, is the Vaio, which I had. It's an i7 top of the line Vaio that I had just before it was covered in dust, from just before getting my Mac Mini. It is absolutely, it looks terrible. It's a top-end device that is made in carbon fibre and should look amazing, but it just looks absolutely horrible. I don't know if you can catch that, but it's just scratched. It looks like a cheap, nasty plastic device, which it just shouldn't. There's no excuse for something. And it's basically the end of Windows for me. It came with Windows 8 Pro, as you can see there, which had a touchscreen, which was useless. I mean, I've never seen the need to have a touchscreen on a device where you have a keyboard and a trackpad, and a good trackpad to input in. And bear in mind, I've never been one of these people who carries an extra mouse with them to do this. I mean, why would you? But yeah, it's got everything in theory with this extra battery, which is nice because it makes it a bit more vertical. It would last, say it would last anything between 24 and 2 hours, depending on whether these massive fans kicked in or not, which sound like, you know, a small jumbo jet model trying to take off from your table. But the worst thing is these sharp corners are just awful. When you try to, you know, if you're in an airplane, you have your luggage above you, you stand up, you know, pull your laptop out, half the time this would snag on something. But then worse, you know, the learning notices come on and you just want to push your, I always have my laptop like at the top of my luggage above everything else, and it just snags, it won't go in. But the worst thing is that it would turn on and obviously cook itself for all sorts of reasons. But so anyway, you didn't come here to listen to me talk about that. So what I have here is two dubious boxes. Now, I will say I am very happy with GRX Di2. Would I have got Ekar if it had come out a few weeks earlier? Probably not. I mean, I like that they're doing the 9T cassette. 9, so the cassette goes down to 9T as the smallest. But I've been doing that for years now. Both bikes behind me have 9. So Strada has a 9 to 32 with a 40 up front, and the Exploro has a 9 to 45, which is equivalent to a 10 to 50. So I have 500%. But I don't like the clicky thing. I remember that some of the early Shimano's had the click, and I just didn't get on with it. I like the. It takes me a little while to get used to SRAM, you know, 2 pushes and then the push and the click with Shimano, but you know, I ride them both back to back. It's fine. So what is annoying is that in 2020, you're still buying a Shimano. You need to spend another best part of €100 to get a separate wireless unit. That is one thing. The worst thing is that when you go to connect that, you know, you travel halfway across Europe, you run like a madman down, you know, an hour and a half's drive away to the only shop in COVID times that had the capability and the people to be able to install this. Drive all the way back, pack the car, get on a ferry, drive across Europe, and decide to use this, and it is useless because, well, not only is it useless because it didn't work with Bluetooth, but it nearly bricked my setup. It's a brand new bike, you know, we all know how much they cost. Brand new fit, get down to the mecca of cycling finally in Mallorca, and for some reason, you know, try to upgrade the firmware because it wouldn't let me. So basically, it wouldn't let me configure etube on the iPad. I only had a Mac, which is over there, just slightly out of shot. I don't bring a Windows device with me. I used to, in the early days, bring a Windows device with me just in case, but they're awful. I mean, the worst thing is it turns itself on, which, you know, practically makes it useless for, you can't pack it anywhere. So yeah, I arrive in Spain and I try and upgrade my firmware because I couldn't fit any of this. So here I have little handles that I can click to swipe between the hammerhead screens. I can program the right-hand shifter, for example. Couldn't do any of it, and I also wanted to get some key data. If you look at Di2 stats and pages like that, they let you get important data, and I'm so bored of the anti-one by. You know, if you want to ride one by, ride one by. You want to ride two by, ride two by. But it's quite clear that one by is kind of, you know, becoming the thing. It's slowly taken over every element of cycling, including gravel. But anyway, long story short, I just wanted to capture the data showing that with a 2x, which I have the data for, I spent over 50% of my time in the bottom 3 gears and a short amount of time in my top gear. What I do know so far, and I wanted to capture some data in Mallorca in some proper hills, and hopefully in the Pyrenees as well, is how you use more of your gears more of the time. So this constant whining of multi-speeders, 2x and even 3x proponents, that they have more gears to deal with and the steps between them. Well, then actually you can get shorter steps. If you set up your 1x properly, you can get shorter steps between them. Why? Because you're using more. This concept that you have smaller steps with 2x is just rubbish. Because you're only using, yes, you have 22 gears and there's more steps between them, but if you're only using 5 of those gears for 75% of your time, then there are not smaller steps than an even split across your gears, which is what I have with 1x. Anyway, we come back to the story of the wireless unit. It crashed quite spectacularly, to the point that I had to miss a day of cycling, obviously, which when you've only got a counted amount of days is annoying. I was annoyed enough to have to buy this thing in the first place. Yeah, it should come included, and it should not just be one point that's included. Every single element, there's no reason why each single element of these should not be connected. And quite frankly, in 2020, there's no reason why there shouldn't be a SIM card in here somewhere. I want a text message to tell me when my battery's flat. I don't want to miss another ride with Di2 in 2020 because somehow it wasn't able to alert me that its battery was flat. And I'm sorry, Bluetooth, I love Bluetooth. I'm a major proponent of Bluetooth. I won a DTI Innovation Award nearly 20 years ago for using Bluetooth in ways that the mobile operators didn't want me to do, pioneers were trying to do but couldn't. And yeah, I love Bluetooth, but it has its flaws, right? I mean, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are big data or close data offload devices. They are not small amounts of data transmission devices. For that, you need the mobile networks. They're brilliant for GPS trackers and for one-off kind of alerts to things that you really find important, like, is there no water in the troughs for the cows in the middle of nowhere? Has a cable come down? Is my battery flat? Mobile is perfect. But anyway, let's not go there. Long story short, I mean, I don't expect to have to miss all of that data, not be able to program my shifters on the fly. I mean, it's quite clear that mobile first right now is the most important thing any company can do to stay alive, right? So being computer first is totally wrong. And then being Windows first, I mean, I have no words to describe a company in 2020 whose software is either desktop first, their website's desktop first, their websites are not mobile orientated, or worst of all, that their software is Windows first. I've loved Windows. I tried to build, as you know, I've built a carbon computer using Windows. Microsoft, I worked on their wireless strategy, embedded SIMs around the world. They're my client. But long story short, we are going to have to resort to a physical USB connection. We're going to have to get a dodgy old Windows machine, which is doubtlessly going to need 300 updates, spend 3 hours of its fan whirring at 300 miles an hour. And so I'm going to put all this together. I'm going to leave you for a little bit. Probably need another 3 or 4 coffees, maybe a gin and tonic. I've got the gin and tonic glass, even though it's full of water. I promise. It's still morning. It's not even 12 o'clock yet. But we are going to plug. Fortunately, at one point they had to fit this with the little junction box. I hate the little junction box under there. At least I've got the junction box here. So we're going to open this up. We're going to plug this in. We're going to update everything. And then we're finally going to be able to update the software of this without it crashing. So I had finally got my Di2 build how I wanted it, with the bars on the inside, the bar end junction. The little wireless unit, unfortunately, they didn't put where I wanted it, which was in there. But two mechanics now have not been very positive about the new Aerogaya, which is strange, given that it's supposed to be Di2 friendly. But the biggest problem I had is I went to connect the etube, as you do. It said that the wireless unit needed updating. That failed halfway through, so I thought maybe it's run out of battery. I put it on to charge, which it did, and was full again, as you would imagine with a full battery, within probably 20 minutes or something like that. That's the time that I'd gone away to think about it. But now I have nothing. I have no wireless, no Bluetooth, nothing. Whether I connect it, the only way I've got to connect these two is the junction box. I'll just disconnect. The junction box doesn't do anything. The shifters don't do anything. Let's get rid of the junction box and put it back as it was working, so you can see. So yeah, back as it was working. Fully charged battery. Completely dead. Completely dead. And nothing. Let's try this light again. I'm gonna have a few Google attempts, but do you know what? I have a completely mechanical Defender because I didn't want to mess around with this stuff. And I work in technology, and so I thought, why not? Let's get the latest technology, get all the wireless stats, and mostly I wanted it to get the stats on one by. But this is just pathetic. You're on holiday, you want to ride a brand new bike, and it's as dead as a dodo. So, yeah, finally get the bike as I kind of want it, more or less. I still have the old saddle because I can't get an answer on whether these rails need carbon ones. They're only 14 euros, but 17 or 18 euros of shipping. Note that the new, there was a lot of criticism about these slipping. For me personally, I just tightened it a bit more, as he said. But the old one said 7 Newton meters, it now says 9 Newton meters. Yeah, I mean, I still haven't got the gold chain or the, I've got a gold larger pulley wheel, but right now I have a bigger problem in that I've travelled with two Macs because, you know, who wants to take a Windows machine on holiday with them? I'm gonna have to take this to the shop instead of taking it up a hill. It's ridiculous. Okay, so being a technologist, I did what a technologist will do, which is disconnect the power. And I had lights back in the junction box, all very good. However, the seat post comes to here, and like with many modern clamps, the mechanism is there. And guess where it is now? And guess where it gets jammed every time I try and shake the bike upside down to get it out? Oh, sweet Lord, why do we have to have these designs? Okay, so there's no way I'm putting this little piece of you-know-what back in there to show you. But basically, the only way to get it out is, rather than turning it upside down, is to sort of shake it on its side, slightly upside down, if you get what I mean. So I basically was shaking it like that. And you've obviously got to avoid that lip. And if you get it stuck in there, then you have to turn it the other way around, which is even harder, obviously, to balance on the front wheel. But it's out. Let's get on with it. Okay. So we have, or we had at least, working flashing lights back. We have shifts, but I can't get the Bluetooth to connect. See if we can see. I can't see. Let's get rid of Ant. See if we can see the Shimano. Still in pair mode. Still in pair mode. Let's finish it again. It will need a Windows machine probably to sort out, and a level of patience that I really don't have for technology anymore. I've got all sorts of devices that I update via Bluetooth. I even update, you know, the Insta360X camera via Bluetooth. It's an amazing piece of software. You know, I mean, the complexity of that firmware is in a completely different league to this. It is. Doesn't fail. Why? Because people have invested in making something mobile first. Please, Shimano, get your act together and sort this out. Please. Otherwise, you know, someone's going to come along and eat your dinner. Okay, let's get this open. As you can see, huge box, and the only thing that's in there is massive manuals. The one thing that we really need, which is this cable. Okay, panic over. It was found, it was in my toolbox, of which there is a video on the contents of my toolbox, to which you can now add that. Why are we waiting? Teachers. Mix that with something else, haven't I? Yay, we've got the next button. This is like the 20th button already. Oh, spoke too soon. We have an error. Disconnect PC linkage device from PC. If installation is performed whilst they are connected, it may not be performed successfully. You see, I forgot all this BS of not connecting things until you've installed everything. I just wanted to get it charged because I suspected it would come back to me and say, I can't do anything until it's fully charged. Let's disconnect and reconnect in this disconnected experience. We are now installing etube project after many more clicks. Fortunately though, the hot air coming out of here is quite pleasant. At least it's nice and warm while I wait. I love the dashy text that appears. I don't know if it's appearing too quickly for you to capture. Wow, you see that? The dashy text. That's like, don't even know why it's displayed, but anyway. You can see, I'm so over this. I really am. Oh, we're finished. Agreements. And if you haven't seen him before, one of the funniest men alive is obviously Eddie Izzard, and his jokes on the Apple agreements are, I think they should know I agree with them already, are just amazing. But this one I can't actually press agree or okay until I've scrolled all the way down, as if that means I've actually read it. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah, I've definitely read it now. Oh, please. Okay, so we've got an e-bike option. My God, this is cleverer than I thought. Hang on, no, it's not cleverer than I thought. I have a gravel group set. I suppose it's a road group set. And I'm presented with an option of urban, MTB, e-bike, but no gravel. So I'm going to press road. The gravel road for Dorothy. It's now downloading latest firmware. God knows why I didn't do that in the first place. You can tell I'm getting a bit grumpy now, can't you? Okay, I can stop being grumpy. We now have everything I need. We have connection check. So I'm confident if we press connection check that we will get this. Recognizing, yep, that's good. Cool. Charging was stopped because etube has started. Okay. Why would you do that? Why is it not smart enough to be charged? Anyway, we'll charge that afterwards. Connects the bicycle and press next. It's connected. Okay. Unit recognition. Do not remove or insert the battery. Yep, okay. It's recognizing units. You'd think, given all the proprietary connections, it would recognize it a bit quicker than that. But there we go. Right, so let's get these updated. I haven't done this since my last, it was a previous generation of Ultegra, but that's on 3.1. Okay, well, let's press next. Okay, updating in progress, or progress as we say in England. But this Shimano would only let me set American English, so from now on it is to be known as progress rather than progress. Do you think I've got time for another coffee? I think so. Okay, I've managed to get here. Multi-shift mode setting. This is all very exciting. Let's go for shift mode setting. Compatible front must be connected before. I bought a 1x group set without a front derailleur from you, Shimano. Right, so can I configure my left to shift up and down? Oh yes, so I'd like to shift up. Nice. Function, so that's a gear setting, front shift up, okay. Nice. And let's go for front shift down, okay. So switch A, what I'd like to do is a D-flying setting. I have no idea what those channels are do, but what I would like to do with that button, which is the top button here, is go between. Could I switch gear with that? Why would you switch gear with that? I suppose if you're sort of semi-aero, that would be a nice place to shift gear with, and I may do that if I can't work out what channel's one. But anyway, let's try that. Okay.
Data righty. Did he crashy? Why? Because he was doing map lefty, data righty.
So I am slightly tense because that was a little bit painful, but I have managed to upgrade my WU. So it turns out that is all that was stopping me getting into the app properly and getting to the information I wanted. And once you're in, it is actually a very good looking app. However, to give credit where credit is due. However, I'm still unsure either in the horrible
Windows app or in the very nice, once you get past the screens, mobile app, how to configure the cassette that I actually have and whether or not I'll be able to put a non-Shimano cassette with its non-Shimano ratios in there at all.
But hopefully we'll get some lovely Di2 stats out of this, so I can show you how, exactly how many gears I'm actually using versus 2x. And there's a Hammerhead 2 coming. I'm one of the first pre-orderers, so I'm looking forward to that. It is a lovely device. The last Garmin that I've got for that is the Edge 800, which must be 10 years old. And it's Ant plus only, so it may just have the flicky switchy thing. But yeah, see you in the next one.